Welcome, everyone, and good evening, good afternoon for another episode of the Hamirpur Tales Hour. And it is less than 3 months now um, when we'll come up upon the 50th anniversary of the Maine Mela, held August 8th, 9th, and 10th in Athens, Maine, on farmland that I just owned. I just came back from Maharana, where, except for 2 days in April of 2017, I hadn't seen Jim Whedon for 50 years. And Jim was instrumental, along with Ken Lux. The three of us planned the event. And Jim was the architect for our 40-foot geodesic dome. And it was on a natural slope, such that we could have a little stage underneath it for the Mayhair players to perform on. And the Mayhair players were, of course, from Chicago. And Jack Kershniak directed two plays, The Net of Love, which previewed on our little stage on the 9th of August, followed by the next day by The Trees. And these were written by Ellis Pines, who I'm sure you know very well, David. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And so at the time of the Maine Mela, there was no sighting yet of David Miotke. He was probably in Chicago, I don't know for sure. But in any event, after our 3-day Japa Mela in Athens, Maine, Pukar went south. Of course, he stopped in Myrtle Beach, down to Florida, even a week in Puerto Rico with Arsenio Rodriguez. And then he headed west. We've had a sighting last week of Pukar in Phoenix with Jack Burke, who claims that Pukar had the Comley coat with him, believe it or not.
Wow.
And then Rosalie Dunphy was with Pukar at John Page's for an overnight in the LA area. And it is possible that Jack Mormon actually accompanied him along the way. Got to find out more about that. In any event, after Pukar had a chance to meet with Gil Alverado way up in Oregon, he headed east. And we know that he stopped with Peter Nordeen in upstate Michigan, and that Peter brought him over to David Stoiber's, I believe in Wisconsin, to his farm, and he spent a night there. And as far as we know, his next stop was Chicago. And there was quite a gathering there in Chicago to host Pukar, and David has a few stories to share with us about that. Without any further ado, the one and only David Miotke.
Well, I'll go into my memory bank, and there's one time in particular. We were at Ellis Pine's apartment, if I'm not mistaken, on the north side, near just south of Evanston, and Philip Lutgendorf was there, I remember, and Pukar was there, and there was a piano there, as I recall, some upright or something, and we decided to show the birthday celebration in 1937 that was held in Nosick. And so we're all there.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's this famous film, Baba's, the one, they show, of course, the meals, people, the Westerners and Easterners sitting on the ground and eating their meals. But there's one shot of Baba floating, I think. He's this young avatar, and the Mandali are following him across the field. And I'll never forget that, because it shows you that the inexpressible majesty of the avatar, what he appears and in our midst to do, and so that was the movie, and I'm playing piano in back of it, and I remember there was Pukar and Philip and others, and and so we get to this one scene in that movie where briefly they show the workers, and I think mostly women, putting together the food, and it's vegetables or whatever they've got. I don't know. And so I'm just improvising, and we get to that spot, that one brief spot, and I don't know how long it was, a few seconds, 10 seconds, 15, I don't know. And I start playing, Yes, We Have No Bananas. Yes, we have no bananas. We have no bananas today. And Philip says, David, what are you doing? I said, I'm having fun. And I don't know if Pukar knew that song, I have no idea. But we were celebrating Baba. That's what I remember. And to have Pukar there, um, in our midst, this giant of a man, this um, great man. I'll tell you, I wanted to do some homework before coming here, because I said if I only had Pukar's book, then I could know more. But anyway, here we are, and I'm doing my best. I'm trying to, I sang Baba songs, and we had a great time. That's the key. And I just saw Pukar in a new, well, it's 2 weeks old. Bobby Bernstein told me about this new documentary um, that puts together other documentaries, and it's called in, in the in the house of their father, Meher Baba's East-West Gathering. And she let me know a couple of days ago that I had 7 or 8 of my songs from the East-West Gathering album and CD are integrated into that 2-hour documentary. And of course, I'm in tears because I'm seeing the East-West Gathering in all its splendor, and people I know, people I've been with, people, it's this feast. And Pukar is there on stage. He's standing right behind Baba. He's the main lineup, you might say. And it's a labor of love. And I just told a neighbor about all this on my walk yesterday, and he wrote it all down. He says, I want to see this. I said, it'll be a trip to India. You won't believe it. 1962. I wrote the music 10 years later. Anyway, uh, and so he wrote it down. When next time I see him, I said, have you watched it? We'll see, but he was very happy to hear. He shook my hand. He said, I'm so happy that your songs are in this. He said, what's the purpose of this? Is it just for an Indian audience? I said, no, it's for the world. If people only see this, they will maybe, according to Baba's manifestation in time, experience what we experience, which is this ineffable glory. So, like on Sundays, every Sunday for 25 years, I play and sing. I'm the cantor at this United Church of Christ in Oakland near the Rose Garden. The first time I ever entered that church was to hear Henry Cashowdy speak in the fireside room, they call it. And I went home and never thinking that I would be there to perform, what they like, what they request, and Baba songs as I request, like the "Oh Glorious," my version of the Australian Artie. I get a big hand for that. All of these things are wrapped up in getting back to Pukar, getting back to these lovers that are the foundation of Baba's work and love. I mean, the countless people. And I was just replying a few minutes ago. I replied to Bobby Bernstein, thanking her for letting me know about this fantastic documentary. And I just think about, I have to pinch myself you know, at the gift that we're all given by people like Pukar and the Mandali, and the men and women and the stories. Every day in the morning and the evening, I read Lord Mayher and then write a short poem, which I sent to my wife Karen, and it's day after day for years now, and it all comes out of this. It comes out of Baba. I'm just sitting here yesterday, looking at that documentary and seeing everyone. Um, and I'm overcome by the gift that we have, this gift of the avatars being in our midst while we were alive. You know, um, it's just incredible. And this also, because what's my occupation on this side of the ocean here, and in Berkeley and United States, I'm essentially a classically trained jazz singer and keyboardist. And I'm telling you, Baba, the older I get, Baba's he because he is the essence of inspiration and improvisation. He's given me this, I'll just say, loosey goosey improvisatory attitude of joy. And yesterday, Sunday, at Plymouth Church, I was performing these standards, these jazz standards that we all know, Begin the Beguine and Night and Day and all these different ones. I finished with In the Still of the Night. The people love this. And this is all coming from, again, getting back to Pukar, people like him he was a communist, wasn't he? Because that made
Yes.
sense. That made sense. He had, what was this publication called then? It was like Pukar something.
Mayor Pukar.
Mayor Pukar. Yeah. So, but then he meets Baba and he sees, and he's in Hamirpur there, and he sees Baba go to a location on this property, that I'm reading about this, and Baba puts his leg up on a certain bench or something, and Pukar just fainted because he had seen Rama in his do exactly that same thing. It was Baba for Pukar enacting this this way of showing Pukar, I am all in all. I am the ancient one. And one last comment. I told the pastor at Plymouth United Church of Christ, I told her about the documentary too. And I sent her photographs of the signed page. Francis Brabazon signed it, my East-West Gathering copy, and the prologue and all that. So she says, she said that I told her rather. I said, and Marjorie, I said, I've discovered, because I always think of the Baba as being the last in this cycle, starting with Zoroaster, finishing with Baba. I said, but this is only a cycle. This goes on forever. The beginningless beginning to the endless end. And here's she's so charming and loving person. And she said, yes. So it's getting away from sectarianism into universalism, into Baba's. Why does Baba come? Certainly, the pain that he puts himself through every time, but it's worth it because people like us and Pukar and Bauji and on, Erich. Mani. Oh my God! When I saw Mani in that documentary, standing on top of some high perch, filming the East-West Gathering, and what was his name? Merji's son-in-law. Anyway, he was assigned, but he's sitting there, and they've allotted all of the different groups to work in different capacities for the East-West Gathering. And Baba says, okay, now go and do your job. So everybody leaves. And this one fellow who I met in India years ago, he gave me a tour of the Guru Prasad Memorial. It's Maharaji's son-in-law. I can't think of his name anymore. Anyway, he's sitting there because no one chose him. And Baba said, what are you doing? What are you doing here? And he said, well, no one chose me, Baba. What can I do? He says, well, I have a job for you. You follow Mani around. You help Mani film the East-West Gathering. And he says, that's what I did. I carried the film rolls. Anything Mani wanted. I said to Mani, don't go up there. That's dangerous. She goes, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. Give me another roll, you know. And she's doing this work. And they're all assigned, you know. I don't know what Pukar's assignment was, but he was darn going to give it his all. Down to the fellow that was, he must have been very young at the time, who built the pandal. His whole assignment was to get the materials, hire the people to build the pandal in the back of Guru Prasad. And I have to tell this story because he said, while the East-West Gathering was going on, Baba called him up to the dais and said, sit here. And he said, but Baba, I have a lot of work to do. I have to supervise. He said, okay, well, go down and do that. But after a while, Baba called him back up. And he said, I want you to do something for me. What is that, Baba? I want you to sing a bhajan. Sing a bhajan? How can I sing a bhajan? And he's saying, I'm not a singer. I can't sing. He says, but I know one bhajan. My parents used to sing it to me when I was young. And I learned it. I haven't thought of that in decades. He says, so I went up there and I sang it. And I got a big hand. And I'm telling you, it wasn't me. It was Baba. And Baba embraced me and thanked me for doing that. And then I went back to my job. This is who Baba is. The ultimate creator. Yet creationless you are, as it says in the Australian Artie lyrics. Truth and truth's body, divine avatar, who through compassion the three worlds maintains. Destroy this ignorance that life sustains. So Pukar and Kumar, another, from the north there, in their own individual ways, were battling this ignorance that life sustains. And then Baba comes into their life and they'll give their lives for him. Because Baba is, truth embodied, love embodied, the ocean. And this is where all of the, from my standpoint, Baba coming into my life while I was working on my master's, and it was through Ellis Pines, 2 ships in the night. I was going to go see a girlfriend, and she wasn't home. And I just wanted to talk to her about our dating and her previous boyfriend who still was there, And I run into Ellis, who's coming, and she's not home. So I'm walking. And here's Ellis coming home. And I hadn't seen him in years. He was my old fraternity brother. And David, Ellis, and we went up to his place. And we talked. We just caught up after a few years of not seeing each other. And I told him about my rock and roll days, and now I'm going for my master's and all this. And he's talking about, the travails of getting the funding to go to India in 1969. And he's telling me this story, and I'm trying to grasp it, And he went to the Great Darshan. And here I am, as my old friend from high school and college, Corey Weinstein, said, Dave, you're the last person I ever thought would go to India. I said, well, at the time, you're probably right. But I'm hearing this from Ellis, but my mind is not signing up for anything. I'm just taking it in, and I'm telling him about my life. So after an hour, hour and a half, whatever it was, we agreed to see each other again, which to this day we see each other. We talk. He lives in Washington D.C., but we're very close. And so I leave to see this girl again. Now this is Baba's perfection, his setup. Why am I there? To see her. Instead, I run into Ellis, who mentions Baba. But my mind is not ready for anything, So I leave his place and I go down to the street and I'm headed back to see her. And what should happen? My body, the grass, the trees, the pavement, the air, everything starts vibrating in a unified, peaceful, blissful field. And now my my whole being is going, what? And my mind has the thought, this is the reason you were born. And after a block, it all returned to, quote, normal. And after another block, who should I run into but that girl and the guy coming straight for me? Perfect Baba timing, perfect timing. And she looks at me like, oh, he's going to blow it. He's going to say something or whatever. And I passed them like I didn't know them. And I just called her after she had gotten home from the all-night drugstore and nearby. And we agreed to talk after music class the next day. It was all a setup. It was Baba's beloved setup to kick me into gear and get me through my master's. And then I wanted to go on for a doctorate. And so he had me working, and this is while I'm at the center in Myrtle Beach, maybe my first trip, I don't know. And Bob Brown is singing, maybe Jane's there too, in the original kitchen. And meanwhile, I'm in the lagoon cabin with my copy of Beethoven's 32 piano sonatas, most of which I played in one shape or another. And so I figure I'm going to go for a doctorate now in piano. And I'm going to work on the Hammer Clavier Sonata, the largest, most difficult sonata Beethoven wrote. And I'm silently hearing it in my mind in the lagoon cabin. So after this, trip to the center, before I left, somebody gave me a copy of the East-West Gathering, this little book that Francis says he wrote in 2 weeks. Bob assigned it, you be the historian of the event. And so I took that with me, and I'm back home. It's hot summer in Chicago, and I'm working on this Hammer Clavier Sonata. Oh my God, And I get to the final movement, and it's my Waterloo. It's such a difficult fugal thing that I have to take a break. And there's this little book on the side, and I pick up that book, and I open it, and my being sees in the depths of the ocean is a pearl. Will you, bold swimmer, bring it in your hand? And below it, the ocean, level and unending. The wave curls up, threatening, extending. Before the wave, the swirl of bubbles, and bubbles is but toils and troubles. The draft back towards the ocean yearned. Its rainbow was its silent cry, a seven-toned flame in which it burns, and burning, singing, learned to die. That's what Baba gives us, all of us. Here's Pukar. You imagine what he experienced to fly into Baba's arms. What we all do, fly into his arms. And he will never fail. He's the one. So all I can say is Jai Baba. Avatar Meher Baba, Ki Jai. And if you access that documentary on YouTube, you'll be rewarded. I'm going to watch it again with Karen because it's so good. So Jai Baba.
David, thank you so much for sharing from the heart. Um, Now, when Pukar was actually a dream, and
Yes.
Pukar said that he had that dream in the village of Ingata
Ah,
as they were moving along the way toward Mehawa Maristana.
ah,
And and while he was already um, totally taken by Baba,
ah,
by the same token, it was in this dream that he saw Baba as Lord Ram,
right.
and that was, so to speak, the icing on the cake
Right.
car.
Yeah.
And Baba, as you know, said, "Pukar, you are my Hanuman."
Right.
Hanuman was, of course, the perfect servant, the monkey god of
Right.
Lord Ram.
Right.
And when I went back to Hamirpur in 2019 after 50th MRTC celebration, my hosts were Mayor Nath Nigam Pukar, one of Pukar's two sons, and his grandson, Mayor Samarpit Nigam
Mm.
Pukar.
Oh,
And I asked Mayor Nath point blank, did Baba mean that your father was like Hanuman, or was he a reincarnation of Hanuman? And he said he was Hanuman.
yeah.
So wow. Um, so we got to be with Hanuman.
Isn't that great? That's so great.
So when how many days was Pukar with you folks in Chicago? Do you got any idea? Was there just this one evening
Uh,
at Ellis Pines, or
that's my idea. I don't think it was that long. He's
okay.
passing through, and but I could still see him. You know. Yeah. Yeah.
You told somewhat of a more elaborate story about Pukar being there um, uh, in a prior conversation that we had, and
But
um, I was hoping you'd reconnect with that memory, but
I I,
not.
I need help. Yeah, I'm sure there was so much more, but yeah, it's 50 years ago or so.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a stretch for all of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's why in this documentary I'm seeing all these people. There's Darwin and there's Dr. Kenmore and Khalid Al Faqih and of course there's the Mandali Bauji and all these people, and it's so moving because that's the gift we've been given. Because like you mentioned Hanuman and Ram. I've been to. All I can say is when I've been in India, we took a trip to Happy Valley, which is where Ram and Sita stayed, and but it's this history that goes way back, and here we have Baba in our midst, and he, it's overwhelmingly beautiful. It's ecstatic. In fact, Marjorie Matthews talked about the concept of miracle, and she said the word itself comes from, I guess, the Greek or something, laughter, because this makes me so happy. I mean, it's blissful. It's beyond to me. But here I am. I'm kind of laughing about it because where else is this going on? I'm sure it's going on places, but I don't know. You know, but when I see people on my walk, like my friend around the corner, we're laughing about it because this is like what? This is this is this is what we're here for. We're here for this joy. Yeah. So I want to hear more about Pukar and your experiences because I wish I could fill in more, but I'll have to get Pukar's diary and maybe learn more there, you know.
Well, Pukar's diary takes place at Merazad,
Uh,
and Baba would call him to spend a week here, a month there, between 57 and 1960.
oh,
And so it's, and there's, um, Pukar is very eloquent. He has a way with words that,
mhm.
when if at the church that you are have been playing the role of cantor and pianist for so long, I believe that same church, Bauji, spoke there a few times, or in
Yes,
the same neighborhood,
yes, I
right?
think he did. I think he did, and I
Yeah,
know the way I got the job was Peter Ravazza was
yeah.
managing Raphael Rudd's concert tour. He had recorded
Okay.
this wonderful album, and so he was on a tour for the record company. And Peter just asked me to go in and check out the piano, and I went in on my own. I didn't knock on any door. The sanctuary was open, so I went in and I started playing around, you know, doing some arpeggios and stuff. And all of a sudden, the office door opens, and the pastor at the time, Steve Hamilton, he opens. He said, "Who are you? It sounds good. Can I have your card?" And so I became the sub. The regular guy, he was
Uh-huh.
a player. He wasn't a singer or anything, but he was a tr tremendous jazz guy. He was Grammy nominated and all that. Um, but he would work and he smoked and I think he drank some and he'd work all night and he was not able sometimes in the morning, Sunday mornings, to come in. So I get that call at like 8 in the morning. Dave, this is Mark, Dave, and I'm reading the sports at the time. And I said, I'll go in. I'll go in. So, and the place has a long history. It's been been a church there in Oakland for 100 well over 100 years, 150 years. But it was reduced to 15, 20 people showing up on Sundays. And guess what? Baba comes in.
Yes.
We're filling the place now
Yeah.
because we're not just mailing it anymore. We're sending it. You know,
Got it.
you do a guzzle, do some love song, do begin the begin, whatever it takes. People and it welcomes everyone. So this is like to me a Baba place, and it's all Baba. You know, it's all Baba. Imagine.
So, so
Yeah.
Bauji, when he spoke there,
Yeah.
uh, would be coming to listen to him for the first time. And Bauji, if you'd never heard him speak before, was very, very difficult to understand. It's
That's
something just like wine. It's an acquired taste. Well, it was the same with Pukar.
right. Uh-huh.
And so many times I hear people tell me he's talking, but he really doesn't know English, which was so far uh, from the truth. But
Right.
they really could not understand his speech. Um, I just watched online um, Pukar telling his story of when he actually went before Baba, when Baba stepped out of the new life on October 16th of 1950
Right.
at Aga Khan's bungalow, which was also a stable,
Uh-huh.
and how that unfolded for Pukar. And he's talking very slowly, very articulately. You could understand every word he's saying. In
Mm.
the same video, Keshav Nigam,
Mm.
interview shifts away from Pukar into Keshev, and Keshev is speaking so rapidly that you really can't understand him.
Hmm.
And the best I can tell, this interview was done by Irwin Luck in 1975,
Right.
and and I was with Keshev in '74, and Keshev then was very soft spoken, uh, very impacted by Parkinson's,
Oh.
uh, and, um, and yet he had a sweetness and a gentleness. Um, before I went to India, David, a dear friend who worked spreading granola at Pinch of Love Natural Foods Bakery. By the way, this T-shirt was given to me in November of 22 at a tea outside the original kitchen by one U Flick. And
Oh my.
he had this for 45 years and he gave it to me.
Oh.
Was very wow.
Yeah.
And you of course.
Yeah.
And his brother Bart had been to Hamirpur on one of the earlier um, somewhere between 71 and 74, when groups of people would accompany Pukar there, either in November at the time of the anniversary of Baba's first visit there, from November 18th to November 27th in Hamirpur, or his second visit, the 9 days in February, including 1:05 a.m. on February 10th, Meherwa Maristana, outside the Japti hut, when Altar Meher Baba Ki Jai was first public declaration.
Ah,
So,
amazing.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and so um, I had been given a couple of bottles of pure maple syrup that my friend Howard Prusik had he had tapped the trees and he had boiled the sap into syrup, and he said, "Take these 2 pints of syrup with you to India to give to holy ones." And so I just happened to have one of those bottles with me when I was with Keshav Nigam. And so here he is giving me copies of Mayor Chalisa.
Uh-huh.
And so was able to give him, he was such a sweet soul
Yeah.
that it was a perfect fit for him. I
Fantastic.
go I go back to Mehrabad, and I'm up on there on the hill, and every day Bob is dropping in a new tune.
Oh.
And one day it was the Ode to Maple Syrup.
There you go.
And so,
Yeah.
and the Sunday after Amartithi, no, excuse me, the Sunday after Baba's birthday, here I am at Merazad, out back with an opportunity to play for Mera.
Yeah.
So I played the Ode to Maple Syrup for Mera. And of course, I gave her the other pint of pure maple syrup.
Perfect. Yes. That's right.
And it's interesting, David, because we have a little time, not a whole lot of time left. But when I had told my story about being with Keshav Nigam, I had mentioned taking the 2 pints of maple syrup with me to India, but I didn't make the connection, and afterward, um, because all these recordings are available to anyone in the Baba Zoom library, um, and so I realized I had mentioned um, what happened to the pints of maple syrup, and so um, you've brought it out of me here. Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Because see
So
it. Go ahead. Yes.
we only have one guest here, besides the two of us. Suzanne, did you have any comments or questions for us?
Oh, I'm just so effusively joyous with your stories. I listened to maybe the past two Hamirpur stories that you had on in this series, and I hope to go back to
Yes.
the first. But I'm just so appreciative. They're just beautiful.
Yes.
But I don't have any questions. I guess I'm just absorbing all of it. And I hope to pick up Pukar's book.
Yes, we're so glad that you were able to join us today. Yeah. So, um, and Ellis is now in DC, did you say?
Yeah, he's been there, part of the Sufis in D.C. He's working there, writing. He's very talented
Yes.
writer, and yeah, so he comes out here occasionally, but I haven't seen him. There's another fellow Bible lover named John Molding, who I knew. He was a member of this fraternity that we were all part of, and so he moved out here, and he and his wife live in Walnut Creek, and I want to get together with him. But Ellis would come out because we're all Northwestern alums. If
Uh-huh.
Northwestern was in a bowl game, so he'd book a room at the Lafayette Park Hotel, and and it was just not the three of us, there were a few other people, and we'd be cheering and having a great time. And see, what people I think need to understand is in Baba's existence, he's just not this, you know, uh, what can I say? Serious thing. And one time I commented to Herb Caen, the famous columnist in the Chronicle,
Right.
and he had some kind of comment that he made in his column, and I wrote to him, and he was kind enough to reply, and it had to do with humor, and I said, well, Meher Baba is the king of humor. He's not some kind of statue, just sitting there in a lotus position. Baba wants, you know, he's all in all. And so when I'm writing my poems every morning, there's a variety of expression that comes out of Lord Mayor and what's gone on in our lives. So just like Cole Porter. You're the top. You're the Coliseum. You're the top. You're the Louvre Museum. Well, after a Sahavas down in L.A. a few years ago, I said to Jeff McGuire, I said, Jeff, could you write some more like Baba lyrics on the uh, on You're the Top, the Cole Porter melody? He said, well, I don't write lyrics. He said, you do it. So sure enough, I did. And you're the top. You're a great Kowali. You're the top. You're Muhammad Ali. You're all that, and it went on and on because and sometimes my little poem will contain that kind of humor. And I say that after I finished it, I think, thank you, Baba. And I hope I want to please you. And I know that in the Mandali, like Nilu, uh, loved writing poems, to Baba. And Baba appreciated it. And one time he said to Bauji, oh, I'm not having a good time. I can't think of any line. Help me out. Help me out. So Bao helped him. This is in the 50s, And Baba heard what Bao had given to Nilu, and he said, "What's wrong here? this is not this is not you." He said, "Well, I needed help." So there's this play of, it's a lover and beloved. It's like this humor that that is the miracle of our being. Why are we here? You know, we're 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 blessed. All of us are blessed. I'll tell you, there was a squirrel around the corner on another street nearby here about a month ago, and I passed a woman who was gardening She was bent over, digging weeds or something. And I looked at her, and she looked at me, and I said, "Happy spring." And she goes, "Yeah, isn't it great?" Oh, and so then 10 more feet on the cross section of a tree, there was a squirrel, and he was looking at me like, and I went, "Happy spring," and I'm, throwing out my hands, and the squirrel was, appreciating this. And so then I continued my walk. Well, about a week or so ago, I'm walking nearby on the corner, not 50 feet from where that all happened, and the squirrel comes out and sees me and walks right up to me and stands on its hind legs as if to say, "Happy spring. Thank you. I'm here. Are you my friend or whatever?" Because Baba's in everything. He's everyone. you know, it floors you, and it's that gift. And so when I sing now, I'll repeat again. I'm loosey goosey. I'm ready. It's just like, wow, and it's all Baba. Take me, Baba. I'm so
You got a short song for us, David?
sure. Let's see. At words poetic, I'm so pathetic that I always have found it best, instead of getting them off my chest, to let them rest unexpressed. I hate parading my serenading, as I'd probably miss a bar. But if this ditty is not so pretty, at least it'll tell you how great you are. You're the top. You're the Coliseum. You're the top. You're the Louvre Museum. You're a melody from a symphony by Strauss. You're a Bendel bonnet, a Shakespeare sonnet. You're Mickey Mouse. You're the Nile. You're the Tower of Pisa. You're the smile on the Mona Lisa. I'm a worthless check, a total wreck, a flop. But if Baba, I'm the bottom, you're the top.
Thank you, David. Thank you
Uh,
so much. And thank you so deeply for being with us here. Earlier this morning, I was not with not only one but two who were at the East West gathering.
oh,
Charles Haynes and Michael LePage was also
yeah,
with us there at Marana.
I saw them in the documentary, and Wendy, of
Yeah,
course. Oh,
yeah. So
it's oh,
um,
yeah.
we've only got a few minutes left. I met quite a few people who encountered Pukar in his travels, and so there will be several interviews that will come from that, including Charles told this incredible story that he heard from Erich, and he's agreed to come on to Hamirpur Tales to share that. So we've got a lot to look forward to, and of course our online anniversary celebration, which will start at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on August 8th.
Ah,
The anniversary of the Maine Japa Mela, when we all gathered under the pandal and took Baba's name together. Um, so we like to end with three Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jays. And so 1, 2, 3. Avatar Meher Baba
Baba,
Baba
Jay,
Avatar Meher Baba
Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Avatar Meher Baba Jai.
Jai.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Baba.
thank you, Baba.